Hey guys, I'm testing here. Let me know in the comment section if you can hear me or not. Because usually when the music's playing, the thing goes bloop, bloop, bloop. And during Hootie and the Blowfish, it wasn't going bloop, bloop, bloop. So let me know if you can hear me right now. Like if you can let me know soon, that'd be good. Okay, good, good. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Angelica. Okay, let's get started. Did you like the title of the video? Oh, I like that name. I don't think that you've been here before, but I like that name. And water for sure. You guys have some nice names. Okay, good. I'm glad the sound is good. Thanks, guys. So how many people think that Christopher Watts actually murdered his children? Anybody? And, remember, we do have the right to have an opinion about this case, right?
Well, I'll share with you my opinion, even though you guys already know my opinion. I don't think Christopher Watts murdered anybody. I think Christopher Watts was actually the parent of the two who was actually protective of Bella and Cece. Ooh, Angelica says her opinion has changed. Really? Talk to us, Angelica. Tell us how. How did it change? First of all, what is your new opinion? You think that he actually did? Oh, okay, around the world. Well, I'm glad you're posting tonight. So I'm curious, Angelica, how did your opinion change? You think he did Bella and Cece? Do you think that he actually murdered Bella and Cece? And tell us, how did your opinion change? Here's another cute name. Jeepers. I like your name too. Isn't it amazing when you think about how many years ago it's just crazy. Okay, here she is. Angelica says, I just don't think that CW or even the R's could fool the police. I don't know. My first thought is, if he did do it, right, then how did one person carry 3 bodies to the truck without it being picked up on any of the cameras, right? Any of the videos? How could one person have even carried her down the stairs or out to the truck or whatever? How could one person have orchestrated the entire incident? I don't know. And I know that he maybe was somewhat intelligent when it came to mechanical stuff, engines, car engines. But do you really think he's like capable of planning something like that out? Okay, here we go. Angelica says he killed her downstairs the moment she walked in. Really? Oh, that's a new one. Although that's something that I was told in September of 2018 by somebody who has a channel, and he's written a lot of books. And I'm not sure, but I think he's written a couple of books on this case. He said that. He said that he had the inside scoop. He had inside information, and that he killed her as soon as she walked in the door. He said that he was waiting behind the door. Interesting. Jeepers says he didn't carry 3 bodies. He loaded one and loaded the kids afterward. Do you think he could really carry her down the stairs or out of the house? Yeah, I actually, that person who told me that, he has the website where like they have the discovery documents and everything. And I don't think he's ever actually said that, but he said that to me back in September of 2019 or 2018, about a month after it happened. Jeeper says, can I ask, do you have any info on how AD's case is going? I have no clue. I have been out of the loop on all of that stuff. I have no clue. Let's go ahead and check. We'll check. Let's see. I'll go YouTube, and then we'll check a certain someone's channel. To see. It looks like the last update posted was a year ago. Yeah, the last update posted was a year ago. So who knows? Do you think there really is a case? Oh, wait, here's an update posted a month ago, but it's not a video. It's just on the community page. It says, here's the new update from my attorneys about my lawsuit in the UK. Thank you for your patience. I can't wait until this is finally over so we can move forward. God bless you all. And it's a link. I clicked on the link. It's to Crowd Justice, and then it's showing the fundraiser. It says 19 days to go. Oh, the target has been stretched again. It says stretch target of 110,000 pounds. Let's see. Let's see here. I'm trying to see where the comments are from people who are posting. Okay, here we go. August 12th of 2024. Dear friends and supporters, I hope this update finds you well. I wanted to take a moment to provide you with the latest developments in my ongoing legal journey. Okay, let's see. Double check. Yep, August 12th, 2024. Following my last update, I'm pleased to inform you that all necessary steps have been taken, and we are now in a period of awaiting the court's next actions. Awaiting? Specifically, we are waiting for the court to set a new hearing date, which will be critical in determining several key matters, including our application for judgment and the defendant's application for security of costs. That's some pretty big words there. I don't know. What do you think? As some of you may know, the court term is currently closed and is scheduled to reopen in October. This means that the hearing is likely to be set sometime around then. While this pause can be frustrating, it is a natural part of the legal process, especially in a case as complex and drawn out as mine. My legal team remains fully prepared and committed to ensuring that we are ready to proceed the moment the court term resumes. During this waiting period, we are using the time to strengthen our position and prepare for the next steps. However, the costs of doing so are significant, and we urgently need to raise additional funds to cover these expenses. If you are able to contribute, your donation, no matter the amount, will have a tremendous impact. Your support has brought me this far, and it is vital as we approach the final stages of this legal battle. I know that this waiting period can be challenging, but we are closer than ever to a resolution. Your continued support and patience mean the world to me as we navigate this final stretch. As soon as I receive any further updates from the court, I will let you know. Thank you, as always, for standing with me. Alrighty then. Angelica says, unbelievable. Jeepers says, did he mention Claire, the non-lawyer? Oh, really? Jeepers says he refused to answer valid questions from good people, like Iva. I'm not so sure she's a good people, but whatever. He and his family are such grifters. Jeepers says, great to have you back. Great to be back, Jeepers. Jeepers says there is no actual court case. It is a hearing. And my goodness, he is such a scammer. Donna agrees with Miss Mensa. CW didn't kill anyone. My opinion. Angelica says still collecting money and trying to scam. Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about tonight before I forget. There's a channel. Do you guys ever listen to Roberta someone? Oh, Roberta someone. I think she says she's in New York City. Do you know who I mean? It's Roberta someone. But she's been covering the Adelson case. I think she covered the Robert Durst case a long time ago. I think that's when I first heard of her. She did a video a couple of weeks ago now about the Innocence Project. Oh my goodness, it was so interesting because she put in her video what a lot of us have already discussed about some doubts that we have about that whole process. In that video, she said this. Well, I don't know exactly what she said. I'm like paraphrasing. But she said that there are people who are like fans of serial killers or fans of terrible people, murderers, and, people in prison who have murdered people. And she said, she brought up the case of Christopher Watts, and she said, even that case of Christopher Watts, well, he has people following him who support him and who, supposedly are like his fans. And she said she's going to do a video about it at some point. And the way she made it sound, and I think it's the way that this whole, what do you call it? Just how everything occurred since this case hit the headlines. I think she is actually of the belief that Christopher Watts has a fan club. She said some channels are, supporting him, and that it's really like a phenomenon or something. And she said, and the people supporting him are women. And that some channels, that's all they talk about. And so she's going to do a video about it at some point. And I heard her say those words, and I just thought, what? Because she's usually spot on, like with the Adelson case, the one I mean with Charlie Adelson and now Donna Adelson. And before their trials, it was Katie, what's her name, and Katie's baby daddy and Katie's baby daddy's friend with that murder for hire down in Florida. This gal, Roberta, is just spot on. But the way she talked about the case of Christopher Watts, I thought, I don't know about you, but I've never seen anyone who's a fan of Christopher Watts. Like, he doesn't have a fan club. We've never been his fan club. And I can't think of any other channel that's ever been a fan of Christopher Watts. But with the way things unfolded, with all the people getting attacked and people, being harassed and threatened, it's like they've tried to mold, and I don't mean Roberta, but I'm saying this whole, YouTube experience, that they were trying to mold public opinion, right? And part of that public opinion, I think, that they tried to mold or create was that Christopher Watts has some sort of fan club. And here we are 6 years later, and it's said now as if it's the truth, right? It's like, how many times did we already decipher and dispute and totally toss to the side any wrongdoing committed by Christopher Watts' co-worker, the co-worker he was doinking? That was debunked in 2018. But how many channels are making bank on pretending that they think that the co-worker that Christopher Watts was doinking had something to do with the tragedy that occurred on Saratoga Trail? You see what I'm saying? So here we are 6 years later, and a pretty well-respected true crime channel is saying that Christopher Watts has a fan club of some sort. Name one person who gives a crap about Christopher Watts. I think we're all pretty disgusted by him. Just because we may have the opinion that he didn't actually murder his family doesn't mean we're his fan club. That's for sure. Just because we may have the opinion that he was a battered husband doesn't mean we're his fan club. If we're a fan club of, I guess, any person, in the case of Christopher Watts, it would be that we're a fan club for Bella. Because we took the time to watch those videos, didn't we? We took the time to see those posts on Christopher Watts' wife's social media. We saw the look in Bella's eyes when she was asking for food. We saw the Christmas video when Bella was being mocked by her mother. We saw the video when Christopher Watts' wife looked right into the camera and said that she had just given both children, for some odd reason. I mean, how coincidental is that both children would have needed medicine at the same time? Over and over and over again. Both kids are sick again. Both kids are sick again. She looked right into the camera and she said that she had just given both Bella and Cece, how did she say it? Amoxicillin, prednisone, I think she said, wasn't it? Amoxicillin, prednisone, and then she said, with a big smile on her face, and lots of Tylenol. We spoke with Cindy Watts directly, and Cindy Watts told us that when her daughter-in-law and granddaughters were visiting North Carolina in 2018, she took them to Walmart, and her daughter-in-law proceeded to fill 2 carts with, the stuff that she wanted, this special bunny ice cream. She did that because she wanted her daughter-in-law to have the foods and whatever else they needed at the house, because the plan was they were going to stay at Ronnie and Cindy's house on the weekends. And Cindy very clearly told us that during that little Walmart shopping spree, that was, how much was it? Like $280 or something? That Cindy paid for, by the way, even though Christopher Watt's wife was so successful. You know, the big time success on her MLMs. She stood there while her mother-in-law paid nearly $300 so that she could have, you know, the bunny ice cream, right? Well, Cindy Watts told us directly that when they went to Walmart on that little shopping spree, that her daughter-in-law put into the cart the Tylenol and the Benadryl. And Cindy Watts told us directly that while she and Ronnie would visit Colorado, or while her daughter-in-law and granddaughters were visiting her in North Carolina, that every single night at 6:30 p.m., she said little Bella and little Cece would tilt their little heads back like two little birdies when they saw her daughter-in-law approaching with what Cindy referred to as the syringe. The syringe with Benadryl and Tylenol every single night, according to Cindy Watts, Bella and Cece's grandmother, paternal grandmother. Every single night. $6:30 p.m. Benadryl and Tylenol. Angelica says, well, why didn't CW say something? Well, I don't know, because I've never spoken to him, so I haven't asked him that question. But I did ask Cindy Watts that question. And she went on to explain that everybody in the family was used to walking on eggshells around her daughter-in-law and not speaking up because of her temper. She also said that as it was happening, that she basically assumed that the pediatrician had directed her daughter-in-law to give the girls Benadryl and Tylenol each evening. She just assumed that that's what the pediatrician had prescribed. And when I read CW, I thought you meant Christopher Watts, right? I think he is just as shitty for not putting his top to it. I don't think he was the brightest bulb, but I don't think he was stupid either. I think he had to have known that giving his children Benadryl and Tylenol was simply not okay. And it gets worse. It gets worse. For those of us who have actually seen all those posts, it wasn't just Benadryl and Tylenol she was giving them. And the whole 6:30 thing, we discussed that with Cindy Watts also. Hey, Jeanette. We discussed that with her also, because she did question that part of it too. She didn't like it. that Bella and Cece were put to bed at 6:30 p.m. every night. She didn't like it, but she bit her tongue. And think about it. If we question why didn't she do something, what could she do? What on earth could she do? Look at what happened when Christopher Watts' wife went ballistic over Cece throwing herself on the floor, having a tantrum because she wanted her ice cream in a cup, not in a bowl. Cindy Watts told us directly that her daughter-in-law came charging toward her down the hallway, yelling at her, accusing her of attempting to murder Cece, just 1 month before somebody murdered Cece. There's another coincidence with this case. She came charging toward her, yelling at her, accusing her of attempting to murder one of her wonderful, beautiful little granddaughters that Cindy and Ronnie loved and love with all their hearts. The children who were there, Bella and Cece and their little cousins, were so afraid of Christopher Watts' wife that they hid from her. And later, one of the other grandchildren would say to Cindy that they were afraid of the look in her daughter-in-law's eyes. 1 month before Bella and Cece were murdered. Good point. They were drugged with their, night-night medicine, figuratively speaking, the night-night hammer, and they were put in their bedrooms and locked in. Keep in mind the claim on social media, anyway, and to Christopher Watts' family. Good guess, Jeanette. The claim was that both children had asthma. Oop, there's another coincidence. Both children had asthma? Really? Do you know any family where there's 2 out of 2 children who both have asthma? I don't. Maybe you do. I don't. And I've been on this planet a long time. It seems to me if it was that commonplace that 2 out of 2 children would both have asthma, then I would have heard of it by now. Those girls were constantly sick. And lo and behold, they were sick at the same time over and over again. Bronchial pneumonia, viral pneumonia, what was it? In that one video that she made when she said that both of the girls had to go to the emergency room the night before? And who was taking care of the girls? Christopher Watts. He was taking care of Cece, and then Bella stood there during the video saying she was hungry. Well, her mother ignored her. And she was cold, and her mother ignored her and kept talking to her reflection in her phone. She said that both girls had to go to the emergency room the night before, and that one of them had, it was either viral or bronchial, I can't remember now, pneumonia. And then she couldn't remember what the other one had. Now, have you ever taken your kids to the emergency room? How coincidental is it that 2 children out of 2 would both need emergency medical care right at the same point in time? That's quite a coincidence. So think about it. She's making a video. Christopher Watts is taking care of Cece, who supposedly was having some trouble breathing. So I guess he had the shower going and, supposedly the steam would help. But if you have ever had a child with asthma, then you know better. Anyway, he comes downstairs with Cece and he's going to the cupboard, I think, to get her a drink and to feed the girls. Well, like I said, his wife was busy staring at her reflection in her phone. And Christopher Watts' wife could not remember the diagnosis for one of the girls. If your child is so sick that you need to rush them to the emergency room, I think you will remember the next morning what the diagnosis was. Now let's take it a step further. You know how part of what I'll call the false narrative was, oh, she's so successful. Oh, she was so successful. She had her own business. She worked from home. We were also told she was a retired nurse. We were also told that she worked at the children's hospital. We were told at one point she worked in human resources at the children's hospital. I think if she ever had a name badge from the children's hospital, it was because she was probably trying to volunteer. And they probably let her volunteer once, and that was probably it. And I think she held on to the little ID that they issue when you line up to volunteer. Or I don't know, maybe they give the frequent flyers their own little name badge, for easy access in and out the door. Wouldn't that be something? If she was there so much that they figured they'd just give her a name badge. Or maybe she asked for one and they thought, okay, this is weird. But maybe, they dealt with weird by, saying, okay. So taking it a step further, she was so successful. She was so successful. So successful that she let her mother-in-law pay at the cash register at Walmart. So successful that she had to be driven back and forth. Evidently, the rental car wasn't in the budget. So successful? Really? So successful that they didn't pay the HOA dues and they were due in court? So successful that they didn't have any money? And I'm not saying success means money or money means success, but if you're going to say that someone's really successful in their little business, right, then probably they're actually, making money at it. Ooh, here we have a good example of the false narrative. We've heard this one before. You're so jealous. So jealous. And look at that. The person posting this comment doesn't even know how to spell Christopher Watts' wife's name. The comment says, you'll never be her. Yeah, duh. It seems to me if you're going to hop on someone's channel and be so weird, number one, why are you here? Like, leave already if you don't like it. And second, why is it that you don't know how to spell Christopher Watt's wife's name? You don't know how to spell her name? Oh, here we go, everybody. Y-O-U-R. Your. Yep. Very revealing. So taking it a step further, think about this. Somebody who was putting herself out there is supposedly being so successful, yet shortly after the tragedy, we saw those posts, and many of them had 2 or 3 likes. Some of them didn't have any likes. Some had just 1 like, and we looked and the like was her liking her own post. If she was so successful, why didn't her posts have a following? If she was so successful, then why, when you look at those posts, the videos she posted, were they so, what's the word? There was just something off about it. Like, I guess a good example is poor little Bella sitting there crying. That was not success. That was a little girl who needed her parents to fix dinner. But if she was trying, if that's what she wanted to do, if she was really trying to appear as if she was successful, which, that's what those MLMs do, right? They try to get you to, like if you're going to take a family vacation, you're supposed to like put a blurb out about how it's only because of your MLM that you're able to go on these amazing trips and stuff like that. So if she was so successful or attempting to appear as if she was some huge success, don't you think it's kind of odd that she would have put a video up admitting that she didn't even know what her own child was diagnosed with the night before at the emergency room? And don't you think if she was so successful, then one of her, I don't know, what you call them? Like, what do you call the upline, downline, whatever you call it, right? In one of the MLMs, she belonged to like how many? 12, 13, 6, 7, I don't know. I say belonged. Let's say it. Let's say the obvious. She paid money to a bunch of different MLMs so that she could say that she was successful, I guess. Don't you think somebody, anybody, had the ability? I mean, we already heard from Cindy Watts directly, right from Cindy Watts. We heard it right here. That Sandy and Ronnie and Jamie and her own son, Christopher Watts, walked on eggshells around Christopher Watts' wife. So, okay, I wouldn't expect Cindy or Ronnie or Jamie or Christopher Watts to hop right up on social media and say, put that video maybe on private, or maybe remove that video. I could see that none of them would have had the balls to say, delete that video. But wouldn't somebody in her upline or downline have said to her, hey, that might not put you in the best light, right? Nobody here has ever said that anybody deserved to die, but that is part of the false narrative. You're doing a really good job, and you spelled it right now that we brought it to your attention. I just hope you learn how to spell Christopher Watts' wife's name too, because then your, BS comments will be a lot more, well, I don't know. They won't really be a lot more, but that was pretty obvious when you hopped on with your yucky comments that you didn't even know how to spell Christopher Watts' wife's name. Like, hello. Jeez. Why don't you just give it up? Seriously, just give it up. Run along because you're just you're just you're here for the wrong reasons, and that's really sad. So that being said, let's click on here. James says, I think she was jealous of Jamie. I think she was jealous of Jamie for so many reasons. I think she didn't want Jamie, Jamie had an actual career, right? Jamie was educated. She had an actual career. She and her brother got along fine. There were no problems between the two of them, right? They both had the same childhood. They both had parents who went to work every day. They both had their grandmother right across the street. They had that shared childhood, that shared experience. So I think first off, Christopher Watts' wife was jealous that there was another person, even though it was a sister, right? Another person who he was close to, who he trusted. I think maybe even not so much the word jealous for that, as much as envious. I think she was envious that Christopher Watts and his sister had a good relationship. I think at the next level, she was incredibly envious of Jamie, that Jamie and her mom, Cindy, had such a good relationship. I think that relationship got her even more. I think the fact that Jamie was educated kind of bugged her. I think the fact that Jamie was very pretty kind of bugged her. I think the fact that Jamie was a great mother kind of bugged her. Was she jealous of Jamie? I think she was, for a lot of reasons. But I think the word envy also goes along hand in hand with the word jealous, because I think it was more from a yearning for what Jamie had that she felt that way. You see what I mean? I think it was more where she wished that she could have that kind of a relationship even with Christopher Watts, or that she wished she had a college education, or that she wished that she had a career, right? I'm sorry, but if you're signing up for a bunch of MLMs, well, if you're paying money to MLMs and then saying that you work from home or that you own your own business, whatever. Well, Jamie had an actual career in the healthcare industry too, I might add. I think she was jealous of Jamie, yes. And I think she was also very much envious of Jamie and of Ronnie and Cindy too. and of Christopher Watts. Exactly, Angelica. No family is perfect. But I think to Christopher Watts' wife, I think that his family, I'm clicking on it, but it won't click. Hold on a minute. There. I think to Christopher Watts' wife, I think Christopher Watts' parents and his sister came pretty close. I think so. I think that's something that she wanted. And in fact, Cindy shared with us they were actually quite close. Christopher Watts' wife was very close to her in-laws. And remember, when she went on that vacation, we'll call it a vacation, makes you wonder how much money they paid or charged to be able to be included on that excursion with the MLM, right? That training or whatever. Who knows what word they used for it? Seminar, maybe? I don't know. I'm doing air quotes with my fingers as I say those words. But when they went on that trip, it was Cindy who Christopher Watts' wife wanted at the house. Now remember, Cindy worked full-time for decades. She worked full-time. It was Cindy, her mother-in-law, who she wanted to be there with the girls when they went on that trip. Her own parents were living in the basement in Colorado. Her in-laws were living in North Carolina. And it was Cindy and Ronnie, but basically Cindy, who Christopher Watts' wife wanted to be there with Bella and Cece when they went on that trip. How does that make any sense? Unless you accept the basic premise that Christopher Watts' wife was close to her mother-in-law. Exactly right. She has been demonized and she does not deserve it. Cindy and Ronnie were very supportive of their daughter-in-law. And I'll tell you this, Cindy has shared things with me that I don't necessarily feel are up to me to share. I think it's up to Cindy to share if she wants to. Cindy could have absolutely, in that very first interview she did, she could have let loose. And she didn't. That reporter was asking questions, very pointed questions, and Cindy held back. And she took it on herself. She took it up on herself, really. Like, why didn't you go to the wedding? Well, you know, she and I never got along. Really? Is that why you didn't go to the wedding? Or are you just being nice? Well, you know, she and I didn't get along. What? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Why didn't you go to the wedding? I don't know. Maybe because Bridezilla fired the flower girl, who happened to have been Cindy's granddaughter. Maybe because Bridezilla fired the bridesmaid, who happened to be Cindy's daughter. Maybe because nobody in the Watts family was going to that wedding. Except for the grandmother. She was going to go because she wasn't going to put up with any of that shit. She had already told off Christopher Watts and his soon-to-be wife And she said she could see right through what they were trying to pull, and she wasn't going to have it. And from what I was told, when she was telling them off, she was pointing her little finger right at them, too. Not her little finger, but I mean, her hands would have been smaller, and she was smaller. But she was pointing it would have been her index finger, pointing her index finger at the both of them when she told them off. Boy, was that a fun story to hear, especially the way Cindy told it. It was cute. She witnessed it herself, and I'll tell you why. She was at home, and her son parked the car at the end of the street. Cindy was out doing gardening, working on the yard. It was her day off. Her son would have known it was her day off. Ronnie and Cindy run like clockwork. You know, dinner was on the table on time. The house was clean. They didn't have a bunch of drama. They didn't have a bunch of weird whatever. The house was clean and dinner was served right on time. And Ronnie and Cindy both worked for decades, like clockwork. Christopher Watts would have known that it was his mother's day off. And he had the audacity, along with his bride-to-be, to park the car at the end of the driveway, or not the driveway, to park the car at the end of the street, but close enough where Cindy could see it while she was working out in the front. And they parked there and they sat there and they talked for a while Cindy's out front working on the yard. Like, really? Like, how mature is that? And then they pulled in finally to the grandmother's house right across the street. And Cindy was right out front. And neither one of them bothered to even wave, let alone pull in and say hello. Nope. Well, Christopher Watts' grandmother saw it, and she wasn't impressed. And she told them so. But this is what she said to Cindy after going to that wedding. Because you know the entire Watts clan boycotted it, right? Everyone's like, ooh, Cindy didn't even go to the wedding. Big flipping deal. Nobody did, except for the grandmother and for, I think it was Christopher Watts' uncle who drove the grandmother there. Well, after the wedding, she regretted going. She said she was treated very, very poorly by the others who were there. Her own grandson barely even said boo or bah to her. Oh, but then as soon as Christopher Watts' brand new bride wanted to get a picture of Christopher Watts dancing with his grandmother, poof, snap your fingers. It's time to dance with the groom. So she danced with the groom long enough for the bride-to-be, or as some of us call her, Bridezilla, to get a picture of her dancing with Christopher Watts, right? Of the grandma dancing with the groom. And then poof, nobody was talking to her again. The grandmother of the groom, and the way she told of the experience she had by attending the wedding, was that it was horrible, the way she was treated. Boo-hoo, Cindy didn't go to the wedding. So what? Big flipping deal. Would you go to the wedding if your daughter just got fired from the bridal party? Would you go to the wedding if your grandchildren got fired from the bridal party? Would you go to the wedding if you prepared the food for one of the pre-wedding parties and you were accused of cross-contaminating the food? Would you go to the wedding if you were accused of not mailing out invitations? Remember, what was it, like 80 people? I think 26 people showed up, but there should have been 80. Remember that? I call bullshit. Because the people who did go, well, those who have contacted us, say that the place, and Cindy affirmed all of this, she confirmed it, that the place where that particular pre-wedding party was held wasn't even big enough for 80 people. If you're going to invite 80 people to a pre-wedding party, you should probably choose a location that's big enough to handle 80 people. But here's another clue why I call bullshit. Because the people who have contacted me said, I almost said and say at the same time, the people who have contacted me, and including Cindy Watts, who has confirmed this, that there were no empty chairs. There were no place settings that were not being used. The narrative goes, the official narrative or the false narrative or the storyline or whatever you want to call it, the story goes that she was so upset because there should have been 80 people there, all of her friends, right? Really? Because from what I was told, there were 26 people there. 25 were family members. That was probably before she pissed off the entire Watts clan. And there was one person in attendance who was a friend. Well, from what I've heard, the one person who was a friend had just met her one time before. Back to that jealousy, envy thing. The jealous, that we think she was jealous of Jamie. Think about that. If you think about the jealousy or think about whether or not Christopher Watts' wife was envious of the Watts family. Cindy's children have friends who they've had all of their lives. Who were Christopher Watts' wife's friends? That's an important question. In my opinion. I just looked at the time, you guys. It's already 1 hour and 11 minutes. So I do need to run. I'm so sorry. I'm really glad that you guys came tonight. I'm glad we got to talk about the case of Christopher Watts. And if you guys want, put in the comment section any other cases you'd like to discuss. Because there have been a couple that I thought you guys might want to check out. One is the Adelson case, but if you have been keeping up with that one, the trial that was supposed to start Monday now has been postponed. It could be February or March before that starts. But if there are any cases at all that you want us to delve into, then definitely give me some good ideas. And I'll be happy to check out, even if I've never heard of it. Oh, yeah, the Madeline Soto case. That would be a good one. That would be a good one. Thank you, Angelica. I'm glad you're here. Yes, Nordica, exactly. The gluten fiasco, exactly. And Cindy sent me photos. Oh, now watch, I'll keep talking. The the photos that Cindy sent me from that when she and Jamie prepared the food for that pre-wedding party, there was plenty of food there to eat that didn't have gluten in it. That whole cross-contaminated thing, yeah, okay, whatever. Whatever. And then that whole invitation thing, what a crock of bull. What an absolute crock of bull. 80 friends? Really? Ooh, Sarah Boone's a good one too. I'm hopping back and forth here. But it's ludicrous to begin to believe that Jamie or that Cindy, either one of them, would have ever said, he, let's not mail out invitations. That'll be a fun, mean girl thing to do. Woohoo! That isn't how they operate. That isn't how Jamie or Cindy operate. It just isn't. I don't know, years later, did they roll their eyes at her and go, yeah, right, whatever, sweetheart? Maybe. But you know what? If you're going to walk on eggshells and sidestep and, bite your tongue year after year after year, guess what? Pretty soon you roll your eyes and go, okay, whatever, sweetheart. Right? Pretty soon, maybe you do look over at your daughter and go, ooh, Wingnut just entered the room. Think about the story that Cindy Watts told us on this channel about when her daughter-in-law arrived that summer, 2018, with the girls. And what was going on? Cindy was helping her with her suitcase. Because remember, don't forget, her daughter-in-law had lupus and fibromyalgia and high-risk pregnancies and fertility issues. And didn't she have I think she had a leaky silicone something too, right? Didn't her store-bought start leaking? And she had the thing with her eyes too. What's it called? Sjogren's or something like that. She had more. What else did she have? I don't know. Over time, the list gets, I don't know. But, suffice it to say that she was one brave little soldier soldiering on with all of those ailments. But, she just, somehow got pregnant twice in how many months? 19 months, I think, 18, 19 months. She got pregnant twice. Sorry, that's a fertile myrtle. That isn't somebody with fertility issues. She was in the sun all the time. Sorry, I don't think that's somebody with lupus. She was going to concerts, really? Lady Gaga? Are you kidding me? Wearing those shoes? Don't forget her shoes. We saw her shoes. If she's wearing those shoes to a Lady Gaga concert that she bought the ticket for ahead of time and planned on it and somehow was able to go, I highly doubt she had fibromyalgia. Highly doubt it. I also highly doubt that she was, what did they say she was, 34 years old? Nope, I don't think so. I don't think so. Think about it. Think about how many times we were lied to about Christopher Watt's wife. From people like the one who showed up in the chat tonight, who spell the word your, Y-O-U-R. When they're trying to say you are, your, Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. over and over again over the last 6 years, they post YOUR. I don't go bashing the public school system when I see that crap. It reminds me that those jerks who have been attacking us for 6 years don't even want to discuss the case. They don't want us talking to Cindy Watts. They don't want us looking at the details. They want us to accept the narrative. I think that this case, beginning with that wedding, beginning with the whole wedding invitation thing, beginning with, I mean, come on. She fired her future husband's sister from the bridal party. And then she asked this nurse who came out of nowhere to be her maid of honor. That's for our next video. Like, really? She didn't have any other friend but this nurse? But wait, what was the real connection with that nurse? We were told she was a nanny for the nurse. Do you believe that? Hey, Paula. I was wrapping it up like 7 minutes ago, but I kept talking. Lost my train of thought a couple times too. You know what? Let's go ahead and finish up right now. We'll do this again. I'm glad you guys were here. I appreciate it. I wanted to say, I'm not sure if I can remember the words that we always say at the end. So you guys are going to have to help me out. What is it that I say? Be safe, be happy. You can choose to be happy. Okay, be safe, be healthy. I might remember. Be safe, be healthy, be happy. And remember, you can choose to be happy. I remember that. If you have stressors in your life, do what you can to lower the stress in your life. Do what you can do. Take care of you. Focus on taking care of yourself before you worry about other people. Yes, take your vitamin D. Here we go. Love it. Okay, so it's be safe, be healthy, be happy. You can choose to be happy. Don't forget to take your vitamin D and eat salmon. Yes, Ocean's Daughter got that one. Eat salmon. Remember, my doctor said, eat your fish. Don't take it in a pill. And always, Angelica came in with the best part, the most important part. I want each and every one of you to always remember that you are loved. I'll see you guys soon.